Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are discussing about Krishna's opulences. As described in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is known as Bhagavan, full of 6 kinds of opulences. Shannam Bhaga, 6 kinds of opulences. So, the different pastimes of Krishna, as described in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, help us to understand how he displays some of them when he incarnates. So there is a description in the Srimad-Bhagavatam 10th canto that Krishna and Balaram, when they were entering Mathura, we heard yesterday how Krishna and Balaram, they actually were being blocked when they were trying to enter the wrestling arena by one elephant, Kuvalaya Pida, and Krishna killed that Kuvalaya Pida, and then after that carrying one of the elephant's tusk. Krishna was carrying one of them and Balaram was carrying the other tusk. It is described by Shukadeva Goswami that Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram, each carrying one of the elephant's tusks as their chosen weapon, entered the arena with several covered boys. In fact, Krishna was not carrying any weapon. So he killed the elephant by first of all breaking the elephant's tusk, and with the same tusk he actually killed the elephant and the elephant caretaker. So with several covered boys, they entered the wrestling arena, Krishna and Balaram. Now it is very nicely described. The various groups of people in the arena regarded Krishna in different ways when he entered that wrestling arena with his brother Balaram and the covered boys. Now we should know that Krishna is the reservoir of all rasas. Rasa here means the mellow taste of the relationship. So Krishna is the reservoir of all kinds of relationship, mellow taste of relationship. So when Krishna was entering the wrestling arena, all the assembled people in that wrestling arena, they saw Krishna differently. It is described in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. The wrestlers saw Krishna as a lightning bolt. The wrestlers, they saw Krishna, they didn't see Krishna as a small boy, a young boy, no. So this is the relationship of rasa of relationship called Raudra. There are totally 12 different kinds of rasas, 5 primary and 7 secondary. So this Raudra rasa or fury, they saw Krishna in that mood. The men of Mathura saw Krishna as the best of males, Adbhuta rasa, with Adbhuta rasa they saw, or wonder. They were struck with wonder because Krishna had killed that elephant and they had heard of Krishna killing so many demons while in Vrindavan. So they were wonderstruck by seeing Krishna's personality. The women who had assembled in that wrestling arena, they saw Krishna as Cupid personified. They saw Krishna in Shrungara Rasa, or in conjugal attraction. The cowherd men saw Krishna as their relative. Hasya, or laughter. The impious rulers saw Krishna as a chastiser. Virarasa, they saw him in Virarasa, or chivalry, the most chivalrous person. His parents, Krishna's parents, Vasudeva, Devaki, Nanda Maharaj, they saw Krishna as their beloved child. They saw with the rasa of daya, or mercy. The king of Bhojas, that is Kamsa had organized this whole festival, Dhanur Yajna, and he invited Krishna and Balaram through Akrura to Mathura. So Kamsa saw Krishna as death personified. He saw him with bhaya. Bhaya is one of the rasas, or terror. He was completely terrified upon seeing Krishna. The unintelligent people, the common people, the foolish people, the ignorant people, they saw Krishna as the universal form. That means they saw Krishna with bibhatsarasa, or ghastliness. They just could not understand, who is this? Two boys, young boys, who are they? What are they? They just could not understand what is going on. The yogis saw Krishna as the absolute truth. They saw Krishna in Shantarasa, in peaceful neutrality, Shantarasa. The Vrishnis, that is the descendants of the Yadu dynasty, who were Krishna's contemporaries, they saw Krishna as their supremely worshipable deity. They saw Krishna with prema bhakti, or loving devotion. So in this way, when Krishna entered the wrestling arena, different people saw Krishna differently. He was relating with each of them exactly according to their mood of relationship. When Kamsa saw that Kuvalayapida was dead and the two brothers were actually invincible, he was overwhelmed with anxiety. Now, the two brothers, they were shining very brilliantly, because that's their natural effulgence. They are supremely effulgent, but they don't always display their effulgence. They displayed some of their effulgence, so they appear to be shining very splendidly. They overpowered the minds of the onlookers, and all the citizens of that city of Mathura who had come to witness this Dhanur Yajna festival from the galleries. They were seeing the two wonderful forms of Krishna and Balaram. They drank in the vision of the Lord's faces without becoming saturated. The people seemed to be, this is a description by Shukadeva Swami in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, the people seemed to be drinking Krishna and Balaram with their eyes. They seemed to be licking them with their tongues. They seemed to be smelling them with their nostrils. They seemed to be embracing them with their arms. All these feelings they were getting when Krishna and Balaram were walking entering that arena. Reminded of the Lord's beauty, character, charm and bravery, the members of the audience began describing these features to one another according to what they had seen or heard. Krishna obviously was the talk of the town. The people said, those who had assembled there, some of them, these two boys are certainly expansions of the Supreme Lord Narayana who had descended to this world in the home of Vasudeva. See, the devotees and the pious people, they know Krishna is not an ordinary cowherd boy, or he is not an ordinary son of another Kshatriya. No, Krishna is expansion of the Supreme Lord Narayana. So they could understand, the pious and the devoted people, they could understand Krishna is actually God. So one of them was pointing to Krishna particularly and saying, this one took birth from Mother Devaki and was brought to Gokula, where he remained concealed and grew up in the house of King Nanda Maharaj's house. You see, some of the people knew what was Krishna's position. They also knew Krishna was hidden there because of Kamsa's atrocities by Vasudeva. Then they began to describe, Krishna made Putana and the whirlwind demon Trinavarta meet with death even when he was a small child, almost an infant. He pulled down the twin Arjuna trees when he was just crawling in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. He killed big demons like Shankachuda, Keshi, Dhenuka and many other similar demons. Krishna, as a small boy, he killed so many demons. So the devotees understand this. Krishna, after all, is the Supreme Lord. So what's the difficulty for Krishna to kill these demons, big demons, foolish demons? They think Krishna is an ordinary child. That is only the demons who are ill-informed or who are envious. Even if they come to know that Krishna is very powerful, they are so envious of Krishna that they can't understand Krishna is the actual well-wisher of everyone. They are unnecessarily maintaining this inimical attitude towards Krishna or Vishnu. Then they were describing Krishna. He saved the cows and the cowherds from a forest fire. What did Krishna do? He simply swallowed the forest fire when there was no chance of everyone escaping that forest fire. They would have been burnt alive. There was a very big forest fire. But Krishna, what did he do to save them? He simply swallowed the forest fire. So Krishna can do anything by his extraordinary mystic powers. This is Krishna's mystic powers. He is Yogeshwara, the master of all mystic powers. The yogis, by practice of Ashtanga Yoga, they may get some 8 major powers or some 12 secondary powers or some 4 auxiliary powers. But they cannot have all the powers that Krishna has. Krishna has unlimited powers. So he can swallow anything. He can swallow anything. So he simply swallowed the forest fire and saved everyone from that impending danger. He subdued the most poisonous and vicious Kaliya serpent. Kaliya had 100 hoods, very deadly poison that Kaliya was spreading in one of the lakes of the Yamuna river in Vrindavan. And Krishna subdued Kaliya and sent him away, drove him away from Mathura, from the Vrindavan area, into the ocean. He removed Indra's false pride by holding the best of the mountains with one hand for an entire week. They would have heard about Krishna holding Govardhan hill for a week. So they were discussing how wonderful is the personality of Krishna. Extraordinary activities. This is only understood by the devotees. We should always remember this. Only devotees have access to Krishna's true glory. Others, either they may be totally ignorant, or if they hear, they think it is some kind of story, some kind of belief, some mythology. They dismiss it off as mythology. Mythology means something which is a fictitious story, something which is an imaginary story, something which is a creation of a fertile brain. But we should understand, if Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, the Supreme Lord, then what is impossible for Him? Nothing is impossible. Everything is possible. Just one statement in the Shastra can actually help us understand what is the extent to which Krishna has got strength. That his expansion called Ananta Sesha is holding all the universes on his unlimited hoods, as if each universe is like a mustard seed. Supposing I put one mustard seed on your head, will you feel any great burden on your head? No. So Ananta Sesha feels each universe resting on one of his hoods as it's like a small mustard seed somebody has put on his head. Like that he feels. So these descriptions can help us understand, if gigantic universes, each universe having millions of planets, each planet having millions of living beings, can actually Anantasesha does not feel any load on his hoods, then what to speak of Krishna lifting Govardhan hill, or Krishna killing some demons, or Krishna killing a very powerful elephant? That is just a child's play for Krishna. So this way they were discussing, and actually when the people were talking in this way, the wrestler Chanura, he addressed Krishna and Balaram. He began to speak. My dear Krishna and Balaram, we have heard about your activities. You are great heroes, therefore the king has called you. We have heard that your arms are very strong. The king and all the people present here desire to see a display of your wrestling abilities. So Chanura is addressing Krishna and Balaram. You are cowherd boys, and we have heard that while tending your cows in the forest, you enjoy wrestling with each other. We therefore wish that you join us in wrestling, so that all the people present here, including the king, will be pleased. So Krishna immediately could understand the purpose of Chanura's statements, and actually Krishna was ready to wrestle with this Chanura. But he also spoke to Chanura in reply before actually entering the wrestling match. He told Chanura, Krishna addressed Chanura, you are the subject of the king of Bhojas, and you live in the jungle. We are also indirectly his subjects, and we will try to please him as far as possible. This offer of wrestling is a great favor of His. But the fact is, we are simply boys. We sometimes play in the forest of Vrindavan with our friends who are our own age. We think that to combat with persons of equal age and strength is good for us. But to fight with great wrestlers like you would not be good for the audience. It would contradict their religious principles. So Krishna indicated that these celebrated strong wrestlers should not challenge him to fight. In reply to this, then Chanura actually spoke the truth. He said, "My dear Krishna, we can understand very well you are neither a child nor a young man. You are transcendental to everyone, as is your big brother Balaram, because you have killed already the elephant Kuvalaya Pida, who was capable of fighting thousands of other such elephants. The strongest elephant you have killed. That means your strength is not very ordinary strength. No. You have killed him in a wonderful way. Because of your strength, now you can compete with the strongest wrestlers amongst us. I therefore wish to wrestle with you, and your elder brother Balaram can wrestle with Mushtika, Chanura and Mushtika, the two strongest wrestlers among Kamsa's wrestlers. So, Kamsa's wrestlers expressed their determination to fight against Krishna and Balaram, and Krishna confronted Chanura and Balaram confronted Mushtika. Krishna and Chanura locked themselves hand to hand, leg to leg, and each began to press the other with a view of coming out victorious in that wrestling match. Balaram and Mushtika also similarly locked themselves hand to hand, leg to leg. They joined palm to palm, head to head, chest to chest, and began to strike each other with great force. Now they were actually fighting with all their skills, the finest skills of fighting according to the rules of wrestling. The fighting increased as they pushed each other from one place to another. One captured the other and threw him down on the ground, and another rushed from the back to the front and tried to overcome him with a hold. The fighting increased step by step. It was a very, very fierce fight. It was no ordinary fight. There was picking up, there was dragging, there was pushing. The legs and hands were locked for some time, and all the arts of wrestling were perfectly exhibited by the parties as each one tried to defeat his opponent. See, when Krishna actually engages in his pastimes, he does so in a very, very nice way, in a very serious manner. So it may not be thought of as something which is simply some ordinary play. No, Krishna's pastimes are worth hearing or worth watching or worth remembering, because he displays his pastimes which are performed by his internal potency. So such pastimes are not exactly like the activities of people in this material world. They are different, they are entirely different. So the audience in the wrestling arena who were watching, some of them, they were not very satisfied because they thought the combatants were not equally matched. Why? Because Krishna and Balaram appear to be mere boys, and these Chanura and Mushtika, they appear to be the strongest wrestlers. So, some of them, being very compassionate towards Krishna and Balaram, they began to speak. Dear friends, there is injustice here. Even in front of the king, the wrestling is going on between incompatible sides. That's the way it was appearing. Krishna and Balaram were young boys, and these wrestlers were so powerful and so strong and so well built that some of the people thought this is just not fair. This is totally unfair. So, the pious people, including some of the ladies in that assembly, they had lost this sense of enjoyment. They were not sitting there and enjoying seeing this fight. They could not encourage the fighting between the strong and the weak. So they were also speaking up and kind of protesting. Mushtika and Chanura are like thunderbolts, and Krishna and Balaram are two delicate boys of tender age. The principle of justice has left this assembly. Persons who are aware of civilized principle of justice will not remain and watch this unfair match. If they take part in this wrestling match by simply sitting there and watching silently, then they are going to be subject to sinful reactions. Either you protest, and if you cannot stop, you leave the place. Or you cannot simply sit and watch when something unjust is happening. So another lady in the assembly spoke. My dear friends, just look at the face of Krishna. There are already drops of perspiration on his face from chasing his enemy. His face appears like a lotus flower with drops of water. Another lady said, just see how the face of Lord Balaram has turned especially beautiful. There is a reddish hue on his white face because he is engaged in a strenuous wrestling match with Mushtika. So, some of the pious people, the devotees, they were feeling this is totally unfair and we are simply sitting and watching, doing nothing. So, when Lord Krishna, who is the super soul in everyone's heart, could understand that the ladies in the assembly and the pious people were very anxious for him, he decided not to continue this wrestling but to kill the wrestlers immediately. Even the parents of Krishna, Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva, Devaki, they were also very anxious because they did not know about the unlimited strength of Krishna and Balaram. So, now they decided, Krishna and Balaram both decided that they are going to immediately now finish off this Chanura and Mushtika. So, Krishna appeared to become suddenly very cruel towards Chanura. He immediately struck him down thrice with his fist. This Chanura, even though he was very powerful, he was jolted. And then Krishna actually, one final blow, he actually caught the hands of Chanura, began to wheel him around, and simply by this action, Chanura lost his life. Krishna threw him down on the ground and Chanura fell like a flag completely toppled. Then all this ornaments of this Chanura were scattered everywhere and he fell down dead. Mushtika also, when he tried to strike Balaram, Balaram returned the stroke with great force. Mushtika began to tremble and vomit blood. Thus he gave up his life and fell down like a tree falls down in a hurricane. Then two other wrestlers came forward and they tried to attack Krishna, but Krishna simply, with one stroke, he killed these two wrestlers who came forward. Then another wrestler, Shala, came to attack Krishna. Krishna cracked his head with a kick. Another Toshala came forward and he was killed in the same way. All the important great wrestlers, when they were killed, the remaining wrestlers fled from the assembly, fearing their lives. Then the cowherd boyfriends of Krishna and Balaram approached them and congratulated them with great pleasure. Then trumpets resounded and drums were beaten, and Krishna and Balaram, with great pleasure, with their cowherd boys, they began to dance and celebrate their victory, while all the audience were cheering. Everyone was cheering Krishna and Balaram except Kamsa, whose plans were all completely upset. So this is Krishna's display of his extraordinary strength, killing that elephant Kuvalayapida and killing these very, very, very strong wrestlers who were actually very, very powerful. And Kamsa was very hopeful that somehow Krishna and Balaram will get killed by the wrestlers. Kamsa's hopes were completely shattered, because Kamsa also, he did not realize Krishna is not ordinary person. Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead. So Kamsa also was completely, in that way, completely mistaken about the personality of Krishna. So I'll take some questions now. What is the diameter of the spiritual universe and what is the range of diameters? Is it greater than the diameter of the material universe, since 3/4 souls live in the spiritual universe? Now, as regards the size of the spiritual universe, there is a description in the Chaitanya Charitamrita of the breadth of each Vaikuntha planet, not the universe but the Vaikuntha planet. It says there in the Madhya Leela, 21st chapter, 4th verse, Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said the breadth of each Vaikuntha planet is described as 8 miles multiplied by 100 multiplied by 1000 multiplied by 10,000 multiplied by 100,000 multiplied by 1 million. This is the breadth of each Vaikuntha planet. In other words, each Vaikuntha planet is expanded beyond our ability to measure. This is what the Chaitanya Charitamrita says. So we cannot measure the size of each Vaikuntha planet. So forget about finding out what is the diameter of the spiritual universe. That is incalculable actually. The next question, when Krishna can kill all the demons by his material energy in the form of natural calamities like tsunami, earthquakes, epidemic disease, including the present disease, virus problem, why did he come down personally and kill so many demons? Good question. It's a very nice question. Krishna actually doesn't have to personally come to kill the demons. He has his agents, the material energy, and in the form of natural calamities, any demon can be easily killed. But then Krishna comes primarily for the sake of his devotees. And by the way, when he comes and performs his wonderful, loving pastimes with his devotees, he also delivers the demons. See, there's a difference between somebody dying due to a natural calamity and somebody being killed by somebody else, being killed by Krishna. If somebody is fortunate to be killed by Krishna, then they get liberation. They are purified of all sinful reactions. Why? Because contact with Krishna automatically purifies the person who contacts Krishna. Whether the contact is favorable or unfavorable, it doesn't matter. The example is given in the Shastras. It is just like when the sun shines, even in a very, very filthy place, the sun actually purifies the dirtiest or the filthiest place. The sunshine can purify any place. Similarly, Krishna bestows his blessings on his devotees, certainly. But even the demons, even though they are inimical, even though they approach Krishna in a envious way, still, if they come in contact with Krishna, then they are purified. And particularly those who are killed by Krishna, one should not think that Krishna's killing is some kind of injustice to the demons. No, it is Krishna's mercy. In fact, Krishna's mercy is shown to the demons only when he kills them, because then the demons stop their sinful activities. Otherwise, these demons go on doing sinful activities and they are simply accumulating sinful reactions to suffer in hell. The sinful activities of demons simply are meant to lead them to punishment in hell for many thousands of years. So these demons are saved from such suffering and they are purified of their sinful reactions when Krishna kills them. So it is Krishna's mercy. He comes for the sake of his devotees, but he also delivers the demons. Then our next question, simply by paying obeisances or namaskara to Krishna, can one get liberation? The answer is yes. In the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is said that one should bow down in honor of the deity of Krishna. One should bow down to the deity of Krishna. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says the most confidential instruction, Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Krishna says 4 things you should do. Most confidential instruction. Think of me always, become my devotee, worship me, madhyaji mam namaskuru. Offer your obeisances, respects, namaskaras to me. So here also it is said in the Nectar of Devotion, one should bow down before the deity of Krishna. To support this statement as beneficial, it is said in the Nectar of Devotion that bowing down and offering respect to the deity is incomparable to performing great ritualistic sacrifices with so many complications. So in the Nectar of Devotion it is said, a person who has performed a great ritualistic sacrifice and a person who simply offered his respectful obeisances by bowing down before the deity of Krishna, they cannot be held as equals. Why? It is said, the person who has executed many great sacrifices will attain the results of his pious activities. But when such results are exhausted, then he takes birth again in this earth planet. Whereas the person who has once offered even respects by bowing down before the deity of Krishna will not come back to this world, because such a person will directly go to the abode of Krishna. See the result of offering obeisances to the deity of Krishna? One becomes eligible to be directly transferred to the abode of Krishna beyond this material existence, beyond the repetition of birth and death. So no pious activities which actually promote one to the heavenly planets are freeing a person from the repetition of birth and death. If you want to really become free from birth and death, you should take to bhakti. And bhakti is very easily performed simply by paying obeisances to Krishna. It is also said that the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, the direct disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they used to very rigidly chant and offer obeisances a fixed number of times. Sankhya purvaka nama gana natibhi kala vasani krutau. Especially Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, he used to chant the holy names and offer obeisances a certain fixed number of times every day. So they were doing this to teach us that devotees must chant every day a fixed number of times and also offer obeisances to Krishna a fixed number of times. This way one can very easily progress in devotional service and is guaranteed to go to the spiritual abode, personal abode of Krishna at the end of this life. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.